Hi, I'm the Rifter, and this is going to be a tutorial on how to replace a battery on your vehicle. So I'm sure some of you have gone out to your vehicle in the morning, you're already late for work, fell asleep doing heroin, something like that, but you probably hear this sound. That nice little clicking sound. Sometimes that can be your starter, but in this case, it is the battery. 90% of the time when you hear that sound, it is going to be your battery. So, first things first, I'm replacing the battery on a 1999 Chevy Blazer. So, the battery has to be, they go by size, so the size for this range, I think it's 2005 to 97 or 98, but it's group 75. This type of battery, posts are in the front, the red and the black. The black is your negative and the red is your positive. But you're going to need a group 75 size battery if you are changing it in a 1999 Chevy Blazer. This battery has 550 cranking amps. I believe the OEM battery, and if you don't know what that means, it means original equipment manufacturer. Not important, but I believe the OEM battery has 525 cold cranking amps, and this has 550. And cold cranking amps, that is, I forgot what the temperature is that it's below, but basically when it's cold outside, you're going to get 550 amps when you try to turn your engine over. So in the summertime, when it's warm, this is going to have 685 cranking amps. But when it's cold outside, it has 550. Pretty simple. One of the first things I recommend that you do is, if you have jewelry and watches, I would take them off. That is the safest route to go when replacing a battery. So those are off. The next piece of advice I would give you is put on some gloves. Trusty cobalt gloves. Gloves aren't a necessity, but when I work with electrical, I like to have any kind of insulator between my skin and whatever tool I'm using. It's just a little bit safer. Well, without further ado, let's do this. So one of the first things you're going to need to do is unlatch your hood. And if you don't know how to do that, you can figure that out in your owner's manual, but usually it's going to be underneath your steering wheel on your dash. This piece of crap, it's a little steel wire tied in a knot. And then you're also going to have a separate latch under here that you have to pull and lift. Here's your stand. So the easiest way this is going to work, just go ahead and get a whole set of sockets and your ratchet, and also possibly a crescent wrench to make it a little easier. So for this battery, you're going to need a 5/16 inch socket to unscrew your nuts here on the front of the battery. Whenever you do this kind of work, always take the negative terminal off first. If you don't, and you are grounded to the frame and you start touching the positive, you can get a shock. Most of the time, car manufacturers are going to put the neutral and ground it through the frame. So it's just for your safety. But hopefully you can see this. So I had it on 4K, so this is probably going to look weird when I edit it. That bolt, or that nut right there, is what you're going to be taking off. But you're going to do the negative side first, which is black. You can also use a 5/16 inch wrench, but a little easier to use a socket. And once you break it loose, you may be able to just take it the rest of the way out with your finger. But again, I would definitely wear gloves. Honestly, I should be wearing eye protection too, because this is I believe this is a lead acid battery, but you know, whatever. These things can blow up sometimes, but I'm pretty confident this one is not going to blow up. So I got my negative unscrewed. Now I'm going to go for the positive. And now once the negative is unscrewed, there's virtually no danger of you getting shocked. The only way I could get shocked is if I had my finger on here and then touched my finger to that one at the same time. So just a quick side note, there's also a retention strap on batteries, and it is way down here in the bottom. And I don't know if you can see that very well, but we're going to attempt to get that out of there. We have to take this thing out. And you may need an extension to do this, which that's what I'm putting on, an extension. So if you saw what I just did, I grabbed a hold of the back of this with a crescent wrench to get some leverage. Perfectly fine. And by the way, this is a half-inch fitting to get that little retaining clip off. So now you see the battery, I can move it. These can be a bit of a pain to get out. It'd be nice if they would have left the strap on the battery when they put this other one in here. Probably help if I unscrew it all the way. Alright, don't lose that bolt or nut. There we go. Ooh. That battery's heavy. Alright. Let me put the new battery in there. That little lip on the bottom is going to go underneath this, which that's the little retaining piece I was talking about. I know it's hard to see, and I'm sorry. It's kind of a bright day. You're going to have to take these pieces off, which they should just come right out. As you can see, they're both out. And remember, these ports, or the poles, go towards the back of the vehicle. All right, so first you're going to want to put this retaining nut back in. Do not drop it, because it is going to be hard to find unless you have some kind of magnetic retrieval tool, which I've got one inside, but I really don't feel like going to get one. I'm going to go ahead and just push this strap down. Makes everything easier to get to. I'm going to go ahead and tighten this up like this, because I unscrewed it like that. Basically just make sure this is good and tight, and make sure the battery's not going to jiggle around and move, because that's when you can start getting loose connections and your battery can actually bounce around if it's really loose, and then you'll have a bad day, a very bad day. Alright, so now that that's on there, the battery's good and tight, it's not going anywhere. You want to connect your positive first, and I'm going to start it with my fingers just so I don't cross thread it or anything. Cross threading on a battery would be extremely bad because your connection will not be tight. So that one's good and tight on there. Now we're going to put on the negative terminal. Now you may get a spark while you're putting this on there. Don't panic. Again, that's why I say wear gloves. But you're basically making your connection with the battery, so that's why you're sparking a little bit. Alright, now that that one's on there, we're going to take all of our tools out of the engine I just dropped a piece down in the engine, but I think it rolled off to the ground, so I'm good. And always remember, take your old battery back to where you bought your new battery, and they have what's called a core charge. Basically, they recycle the frame of this battery and they reuse it, but you actually usually get money back on that. So don't forget your core charge. Alright, so now that we got all that changed out, moment of truth. Well, listen to that kitten purr. So yeah, and that's how you change the battery out on a vehicle, specifically a 1999 Chevy Blazer. This is the 4.3 liter four-wheel drive V6. If this helped you out, throw me a like, throw me a subscribe. Click here for other videos. Click on this mess to subscribe, or down in the corner, or that corner. I don't know which corner it's going to show up in, guys. I don't know. Last step, make it look like you're married and you love your wife or husband. God forbid. Don't include everybody. And then put your smartwatches back on. I'm the Rifter. Thank you for watching. Happy repairs.